I caught my wife cheating, and she smiled as though I was the one who had forgotten something important. She calmly said, "We talked about this. We agreed to be open, remember?" I tried to stay calm and left the next day, but she turned it around, telling everyone that I had agreed to an open marriage and that I was just too insecure to handle it once it became real. What she didn't know was that I still had the one thing I needed to destroy her narrative and end the marriage. I'm 36 and my wife, Suddy, is 34. We've been married for 6 years. We met through mutual friends, dated for 2 years and had a small wedding with only close family and friends. Both of us have solid careers. I work in software development for a logistics company, and she's in marketing for a cosmetics brand. We don't have kids yet, though we had talked about having them one day. The discovery started when I was going through our finances, doing a routine check on our expenses for the month. Suddy and I keep separate accounts but share a credit card for household costs and date nights. One evening, I noticed a charge for $287 at an upscale steakhouse downtown on a Tuesday when I was away for work. I thought it could be fraud, so I pulled up the detailed receipt. It showed 2 entrees, 2 cocktails, a bottle of wine, and dessert, clearly a date, not a business dinner. The timestamp indicated it started at 8:14 p.m. and ended at 11:03 p.m. At 9:30 p.m. that same night, Suddy had texted me saying she was going to bed early because she was tired from work, complete with a selfie of her in pajamas in our bedroom. That's when everything clicked. There were other things I'd noticed too: work trips that seemed to line up with mine, new lingerie that never made an appearance when I was home, and the sudden changes to her phone password because of work security requirements. I'm not one to confront people directly, so I didn't immediately call her out. Instead, I started paying closer attention. I saw that she would take her phone into the bathroom during showers, and certain friends' names made her visibly uncomfortable when I brought them up. Her schedule had become increasingly vague over the past year. One evening while she was in the shower, I saw a notification pop up on her phone. It was from someone named Alex W. The message said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, hotel is booked, same room as last time." That was all I needed. I didn't open her phone or dig further, but I checked the credit card again and found multiple small charges at a hotel downtown, always on the same days I was traveling for work. The most recent one was for the following day, and it had been marked as read and archived in our shared family account. I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't been specifically looking. I decided to confront her that night. When I sat down next to her, she was on the couch, scrolling through Instagram. I asked quietly, "Who's Alex?" She froze for a moment before her expression shifted to one of confusion. "Alex from my office." "Is that the Alex you're meeting at the Grand Hotel downtown tomorrow?" She looked at her phone and then back at me, her face shifting through several emotions: shock, panic, anger, and then something I didn't expect. She smiled. It wasn't a nervous smile, it was almost condescending. "Wait, are you upset about that?" she asked calmly. "About you having an affair?" I responded. "Yes, Suddy, I'm upset." She laughed and set her phone down. "It's not an affair, Ryan. We talked about this. Remember that weekend in Chicago last year? We agreed to try being open. You said you were fine with it as long as we were discreet." I was stunned. "What are you talking about? We never agreed to that." "Never." "Yes, we did," she said, her voice now taking on a patronizing tone. "We had that whole conversation. You said you felt our sex life needed variety and I suggested we try seeing other people. You agreed and said you might want to try it too." I was completely blindsided. "That conversation never happened," I said, a chill running through me. Was I losing my mind? No, this was gaslighting, plain and simple. "Ryan, I can't believe you're pretending we didn't discuss this. Is it because you haven't found anyone yet? Because I've been honest with you. Alex knows about you. This was our agreement." I stood up, feeling my control slipping. "Suddy, we never agreed to an open marriage. This isn't something I would forget." She defensively replied, "We've been operating under this arrangement for months. I've been following the rules, not bringing anyone home, being discreet and putting our relationship first." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Suddy and I had been together for 8 years, married for 6, and we had never even discussed opening our marriage, not even as a joke. We'd watched a documentary on polyamory once and both agreed it wasn't for us. "I think I need to leave," I said, finally losing control. "I need to clear my head." "Oh my God, you're being so dramatic," she scoffed. "It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. We agreed to this." I grabbed my keys and wallet. "I'm staying at Dave's tonight," I said. "Fine, run away," she called after me, but then added, "Don't pretend this is some big betrayal when you literally gave me permission." I drove straight to my best friend Dave's house, barely remembering the journey. When I arrived, I was so angry I could barely speak. Dave sat me down, handed me a beer, and listened as I explained what had happened. "Dude, that's insane," he said when I finished. "She's trying to make you think you're crazy. And it's working." I found myself questioning everything for a moment, wondering if we'd had this conversation before and I just forgot it. But no, there was no way, this wasn't something we had talked about. My wife had never once mentioned anything about opening our marriage. We'd always discussed everything, so this was completely out of the blue. That night, I ended up crashing on my friend Dave's couch, my phone constantly buzzing with texts from Suddy, each one trying to downplay what had just happened. She said things like, "You're overreacting," and "We can talk about this when you're being reasonable." I silenced my phone, desperate to get some sleep, but it didn't work. The next morning, the messages were even worse. Not only was Suddy texting me, but friends and family were reaching out too. My sister called, sounding completely baffled and concerned. "Ryan, what's going on?" she asked. "Suddy called me, crying, saying you freaked out about your open marriage arrangement." My heart sank. "Open marriage?" I said to myself. "What open marriage?" Confused, I told her, "Jen, we don't have an open marriage. We've never talked about that. Suddy's been cheating, and now she's trying to convince everyone that I agreed to this." It turns out that's exactly what Suddy had been telling everyone. She'd contacted every person we both knew, even our closest friends and family members, with a version of events so convincing that I was left questioning my own reality. According to her, we had agreed to an open marriage a year ago, and while I had been enthusiastic at first, I was now jealous because she had found someone else. To top it off, Suddy claimed I was gaslighting her by pretending the arrangement never existed. My friends were picking sides and my family, especially my parents, were getting involved. I had no way to prove my side of the story, especially since she'd already spoken to everyone and had them on her side. The worst part was that Suddy's story was so detailed. She even described a conversation we supposedly had in a hotel room in Chicago, painting a vivid picture of where we sat, what we drank, and how I supposedly brought up the idea of an open marriage. There was nothing to back up her version of events, no recordings, no witnesses, just her word against mine. I had to dig deeper. I began combing through every text message, email, photo, and travel record we had. I even revisited our trip to Chicago from the previous year, the one she said was when we made the supposed agreement. I went through every receipt, every museum ticket we had, hoping to find something, anything, that would back up my version of events. But nothing came close to helping. It was exhausting and I was starting to lose hope. 3 days after I moved into Dave's, I hit a breaking point. Then something strange happened. I received a message on Facebook from a woman named Melissa Hudson. Her name didn't ring a bell, but the message caught my attention. It read, "I think you should know that your wife mistakenly thought you were cheating with me a few months ago. I have screenshots of messages that might interest you." I met Melissa at a coffee shop downtown. She was in her early 30s, dressed professionally but clearly nervous. "I work at Thorne Consulting," she introduced herself. "Your wife's company hired us for their rebrand last year. You and I were in the same group photo at their launch party." She pulled out her phone and showed me the photo. There we were, standing at opposite ends of a group shot at Suddy's company event. I vaguely remembered the party, but I didn't recognize Melissa at all. Then Melissa explained, "About 4 months ago, I received these messages from your wife." She handed me her phone and I saw the text messages, angry, accusing, and filled with hostility. Suddy had accused Melissa of flirting with me, meeting me late, and insinuating we were having an affair. Melissa's responses were confused, then defensive, trying to explain that she had no relationship with me beyond professional matters. Suddy had escalated, threatening to tell Melissa's boss about her unprofessional behavior. The conversation ended with Melissa offering to share her phone records to prove there was no affair. 2 days later, another message from Suddy came. "I owe you an apology," she wrote to Melissa. "I misread some text messages on Ryan's phone and jumped to conclusions. This is embarrassing and unprofessional. Please forget this happened." I couldn't believe it. I asked Melissa, "Why are you showing me this now?" She hesitated for a moment before answering, "I heard through the grapevine about your situation and I thought you should know." It didn't align with what I experienced with her. I thanked her for the information and asked her to send me the screenshots, which she did. Before I left, she added, "There was a phone call too before the text. She called me, screaming, accusing me of sleeping with you. I recorded it because I was worried she might try to get me fired." My heart stopped. "Do you have the recording?" I asked. Melissa nodded, pulling it up on her phone. There it was, Suddy's voice, shrill with anger, accusing Melissa of having an affair with me. "I know you're sleeping with my husband," she shouted. "How long has it been going on? You're destroying a marriage and you're pretending to be professional? I've been faithful for 8 years, and this is how he repays me." Melissa denied it, trying to calm her down, but Suddy wouldn't hear it. "Don't lie to me," she continued. "Ryan's been distant, secretive, working late, always on his phone. He's having an affair and your name keeps coming up. Just admit it." Eventually Suddy's voice broke and she sobbed, "We're supposed to be committed to each other, exclusive. I've been faithful for 8 years, and this is how he repays me." I felt like I'd been hit with a ton of bricks. This recording proved everything. There was no open marriage arrangement, no agreement. Just 3 months ago, Suddy was furious at the thought of infidelity, reaffirming we were supposed to be exclusive. This was the evidence I needed. I immediately went to my lawyer's office. I played him the recording and showed him the screenshots. He smiled for the first time since I hired him. "This is huge," he said. "She explicitly states you were supposed to be exclusive. The timeline here directly contradicts her current story." The very next day, I filed for divorce citing infidelity. Suddy didn't take it well. She called me furious. "Really, Ryan? Divorce over a misunderstanding about our arrangement?" she spat. I cut her off. "What arrangement, Suddy? The one you made up after I caught you cheating, or the one where we're supposed to be exclusive as you told Melissa just 3 months ago?" There was silence on the other end of the line. "Yeah," I continued, "I've got the recording and the screenshots. You can explain that to the judge." She was livid, trying to deny everything, but the evidence was undeniable. I sent the recording and screenshots to my sister and other family members who had been fed Suddy's lies. They all called or texted with apologies, shocked that they'd been so easily duped. Suddy's narrative quickly fell apart when faced with the truth. First, she tried to claim she was confused about our arrangement. Then she said she only accused Melissa to test me. Finally, she admitted there had never been any agreement about an open marriage. The divorce was finalized 4 months later without much resistance from her. She moved across the country, telling our mutual friends she needed a fresh start away from the gossip. Since then, I've been rebuilding my life. I got my own place, reconnected with friends who had distanced themselves during the chaos, and started dating again, slowly and cautiously. The weirdest part is that sometimes I still doubt my own memories. Gaslighting does that, it makes you question your own reality. But every time those doubts creep in, I listen to that recording. Suddy's own words, furious at the thought of me being unfaithful, remind me of the truth. Our marriage was supposed to be exclusive, and she can't rewrite that history. It's been about 18 months since the divorce was finalized, and life is starting to feel normal again. The most unexpected part of it all is that Melissa and I became friends. Nothing romantic, of course, that would have been weird. But we've had coffee a few times, and I've developed a genuine friendship with her. She's the one who encouraged me to share my story, thinking it might help others recognize gaslighting in their own relationships. Suddy is still on the opposite coast. I hear from mutual friends that she's dating someone new and telling him a completely different version of our breakup. From what I've heard, she's telling him that we grew apart and wanted different things. I almost feel sorry for the guy, almost. My family has been incredibly supportive. My sister, Jen, who initially believed Suddy's lies, has become especially protective. She vets everyone I date now, making sure they're not sociopaths. It's both touching and slightly embarrassing, but I appreciate it. As for me, I've learned to be more cautious about relationships, but not in a cynical way. I've learned to trust my instincts, to pay attention to inconsistencies, and to always maintain clear communication. I'm currently seeing someone who knows my full story and appreciates my straightforward approach. As for the recording that saved me, I deleted it 6 months ago. I didn't need it anymore, not for evidence or validation. I know what happened, and that's enough. Sometimes people ask if I wish I had discovered Suddy's true character sooner, before we got married. I don't think she was always like this, though. I think she became this way little by little, making choices that led her down a path where lying became second nature. That's what scares me the most, that someone you think you know inside and out can transform into someone completely unrecognizable. But that's also what gives me hope, because if people can change for the worse, they can also change for the better.